Welcome to the Mysteries of the Feeling Realm, a podcast where we explore our relationship to this feeling body, to the vibrations and sensations that are constantly moving just beneath our awareness, that we have so much judgment of. We brace against them, we blend with them, we hide them, and we blame others for them. But mostly, how these energies are profoundly misperceived. So join us, Cole and Lorella, as we explore what it might feel like to welcome every single drop of your experience in a relaxed and kind and deeply receptive body. So welcome to the second podcast. Nice to have you here. Last time we looked at what are feelings, and today we're looking at how do we welcome feelings? What does that actually mean? How do we recognize them? How do we turn towards them? How do we feel with them? How do we meet them?
And how to make them visible. How to make them being felt around us. And no longer hidden, but in full expression of that they deserve to have and be. The oozing part of ourselves that does not really necessarily need to talk, but it radiates in a way that only feelings do.
Yeah, and I guess for me, one of the things about allowing feelings to radiate, allowing them to be, first of all, we actually need to allow ourselves to notice them, and then to feel with them, or to make space for them first, and then to allow them to feel, because it's an incredibly subtle realm, but also we're just so used to ignoring them, to acting from them, to pushing them aside. I mean, we're always trying to heal them, get rid of them, or to not even knowing what is actually the sensation of the feeling. So maybe we can start there. Like, how do we recognize our feelings? Do you want to speak to that, Cole?
Well, I might have mentioned this before. For me, it's like I don't go with my mind into the feelings, because I wouldn't be taking my past and looking for something familiar. I do it the way I step back, and it was beautiful what you said. It's about opening a space, because feelings are often compressed into like this tiny little space, and yet we have this ability to open space for feelings. Like, can we allow ourselves to have more space for feelings? They can have it. So just, that's where I start. I open a space, say, hey, feelings, you can move, you can be more visible than I make you to be.
So what I notice when you say that is there's this little step just before, which is an attitude of welcoming. Because you're already, even in your voice, you're like, hey, feelings, So there is this attitude of, how can I welcome this feeling, or what is here, and how can I be with it in a way that's different? So that's nice just to feel that, because I guess what we're doing together is we're going to be exploring our different ways and listening to each other for little clues, or like how to support people to actually like notice and feel.
How do you do it?
Very similar to, actually for me there's a couple of like really clear steps. Like the first is I notice that I'm in something, because it's not very expanded. There's a narrowness in my whole field. Like if I'm in a story of anger, if I'm in a story of worthlessness, I recognize that I'm not in open, expanded awareness. I'm not in an open state of my being. There's a contraction and there's a narrowing of my field, and my mind is actually, there's energy in my head that's narrowing. So there's a recognition of what I'm in. So that kind of like, it's like a little bell that goes, you're in something.
Yeah.
And as soon as I notice that I'm in something, then I kind of feel around for, okay, what's the theme here? What's the story? So I'm looking around for, okay, so this is anxiety and worry. I use a nice little Buddhist map here of the 5 hindrances. Awesome little map. One of the first things I learned 30 years ago, and it's just this super fast track to go, what am I in? What's the kind of vibration of this? So I'll go, I'm in something. Okay, this is a vibration of anger, or it's a vibration of worry. And then I drop that completely and I just go, what does it feel like? What is it like as a sensation? So then I just drop completely to body, and I'm really feeling for, where am I energetically? Where is the tension in my physical body? What does it feel like? So then there's kind of a little bit of study or curiosity of exploring what the actual state is. I'm not trying to change anything. I just kind of feel for it, and that helps me get more information and helps me notice it more. And then once I've kind of got a sense of it, and I really, usually at this point, I can see, I don't like this experience. Some part of me is agitated by it or feels like something's wrong. So there's a recognition that I don't like it. And then comes this like, how do I welcome this little one?
No.
Yeah.
Isn't that just the most precious thing?
Yeah. And it's really this question, because really there's a part of me going, oh my God, doesn't matter how long I do this. It's like, okay, there's a stance that I'm somehow in that says there's something not okay here. So when I kind of go, oh, okay, there's a recognition of something is in some state, not necessarily me. So then it's like, oh, how do I welcome this? How do I make space for this?
Yeah.
So then my next step's a bit more, but let's have a bit more from you. But so that's there is that attitude there of like, oh, okay, I'm in this. I want to meet it, and space is 100% the first step.
And this is you talking about you being in your own space alone, or not in the company of others? How do you do it? There's a whole different approach when it's, where is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty much speaking about this in my body. So like there's a recognition of a state. And then if I'm super activated, the first thing I'll do is I'll just go and lie down. And I sort of feel into it in my body, and then I'm like, okay, how do I make space? And for me, making space, initially, I realised that I only ever made space inside my body, like inside the boundaries of my skin. Whereas now, space for me is usually outside of my skin, and if it's highly activating, which in my body there's usually a volume that's pretty intense, I'm like out in the country, or I'm out in space or in the sky. Like I take my awareness really wide so that this feeling has room to breathe. So it actually has this space. I don't look at it. I don't go into it. I'm like, how can I help you settle?
Yeah, I love your maps. I like how you look at it from so many different perspectives, as if like meeting it differently. Depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, just as you say that, there is, like, I meet different feelings with different,
Nice.
you know, if I'm meeting the energy of thinking, I go up and give it space up there. If I meet dissociation or confusion, I just instantly become fuzzy and wide. And I meet it in that nebulous kind of state. Or if there's anger, I'm totally in space. If there's shame, I'm nowhere near my body. You know, and if there's a real tenderness, I'm really kind of close, and, you know, I'll have my hand on my belly or my heart, and there's a kindness, but I don't go into it. So I like that you mentioned that, because that's one of my things. It's like, actually different vibrations need completely different types of space and placements of attention. And that's more like initially when they are activated. But once they settle, I always end up hanging out with them very, very deeply, like at the bottom of the ocean or deep, deep, deep in the earth.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So nice to be asked a question like that. Like, it's like, yeah, totally get into the, like, geekiness. And yet, you know, with each little piece I could go on forever. So
I know.
Yeah.
And your maps are just, I'm just in awe of just the way you have this mapped out. And so you can put it into words so eloquently, so clearly, and how you have like this feeling, I'm it with this and this with that. And when you said kindness, it's like, oh, I just melted in. It's like being kind to feelings. Yeah.
Oh my God, so, like, it is the most essential ingredient. And actually, once you start to be kind, you realize how unkind we have been and how unkind we've been for so long.
Yeah.
These poor things have been blamed.
No wonder
and
they're so
attacked.
buried.
Yeah.
So buried, virtually escaping this
Attack.
barrage of punitive
Yeah.
and like dismissive, mostly, eh?
Oh, so unkind. Rather than, oh, my darling, you are so distressed. How can I make it safe for you? You know, how can I create a field that just feels so kind and feels so safe?
That's it.
And so welcoming and so like, you know, I kind of feel like it's a grandmother's kitchen, and she just like sits there and cooks and says, darling, I'm just here whenever you need me. But she doesn't go away. She doesn't demand. She just oozes love and so much unconditional acceptance. You know?
Kind of like a grandmotherly, the overview, you know, the relaxation. It's just knowing that it's all gonna be all right.
Everything's all right, honey, darling. You're sad. Yeah.
That's beautiful, huh?
Yeah, there's another little metaphor that for me, especially with super distressed ones, is like this animal that has been like not only beaten all its life, but chained in a dungeon without light, without food, and just with this constant blame and attack. You know, to befriend one of these ones, like as you said, like, you know, they've just been so, like they're locked away. To befriend them, like you don't walk into that room and go straight up to them and, you know, try to calm them. You step into the room and you kneel, you don't look at them, you kind of like just calm your energy and you exude safety.
Yeah.
And then you let that animal that is absolutely distressed and freaked out by your presence, by the presence of awareness. You know, you let it just feel that safety for however long that takes. A week, a month, 3 months. You know, we're meeting vibrations in such gentle terrain.
Yeah, like how to be truly present for them, the way they need to be present for them. Yeah. So I always take that approach of like, for me personally, I always go, God, help me now. It's like I could ask for some guidance, as if my, you know, complete whole self that's somewhere living within comes and supports because I don't know how to be with some of these feelings. I meet them and go like, God, it's like, God, help me now. How can I? And then I'm shown somewhere inside some kind of, suddenly there's a certain quality inside of me that begins to come out. And I can almost feel like that quality touches that timidness, you know, that very timid, hurt, dark place with this just like the softest of the light, almost like the light.
I can really feel it as you speak. Like I can really hear it in the kind of delicateness of your tone. I wanted to cry, you know. I could just feel the kindness.
Oh, that word. Oh, kindness.
Kindness.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of take you back a little moment because, you know, you kind of say there are some feelings that you don't know how to meet. Yeah. But I know that there's a lot of feelings you do know how to meet.
Oh, yeah.
So let's kind of feel into what's your journey. Like, what is it that you've learnt, or how did you start to meet feelings, and what's your kind of go-to, like, steps?
Well, I started with a hello. Like, you know, you took welcome in. I had just this blonde masculine things like, hello. Hey, I see you. And then I start using it everywhere. People say, oh, I've got this feeling. It's like, hey, just say hello. And they go, what? I can do that? It's like, yeah, just say hello. And they go, hello, Tara. And they immediately just having this like a peace comes over them. It's like, oh, you mean I don't fight this? So that was my first start. It just went bluntly like, talk to it. So like, hello, you. I want to be your friend. I'm blind, deaf, and dumb. Have no idea how to befriend you. Right? We've been in such a horrible relationship for eons. But you know what? I'm waking up and I'm coming with just a hello and intent to be friends. Like I just want to befriend you above all else. Like you are my most precious thing. And this isn't me now. At the beginning I was like, just a hello. The feelings goes, you had me at hello, by the way.
You had me at even a little drop of kindness.
Yeah, a drop of kindness, hello, you know. That was my beginning. Then, well, you know, I've been doing this thing called Write You So Well, and they had these beautiful steps in there. And the first one is like, talk to the feeling, you know, if it's injured, just talk to it. Explain to the feeling why you had to deny it. So just when... Hey, shame, I've been denying you because I didn't even know you are like a living being, you know? You're like a reject. In my world, you were like, mind is the number one, and you're just this burden on me. And suddenly I'm going like, you know, I had horrible attitude towards you, and I'm now waking up, I'm going to change this. I'm going to explain to you why I've been so horrible. And it's really amazing when I started talk like that, almost like I could begin to feel an ear like something was hearing me.
Yeah.
And for me, it was bigger even that little feeling. It was just something, what I now call the will, or the feeling realm altogether. That something big begin to open its eye, going like, "Oh my God, you're talking to me now." That was the first step. And what was most incredible, that this was so huge. It was like this, like the grandmother you just mentioned, right? So it was this wise, amazing mother realm. Like the mother of everything. The pure feminine. It's not even feminine. It's just like, this golden lava. It's like it's so thick and beautiful. But that was how I started with it. And then I noticed that I had very little acceptance. And I realized that I had like this unconditional non-acceptance of feelings. Like no matter what they were, I didn't like them. So that was an awakening. When I realized I have this like unconditional non-acceptance. That mind just did not want to know about feeling realm. Anything. And I go like, wow, this is an arrogant little creep up here. And I realized the shadow was in my mind. This unseen dictator, that was just going like, nah, we simply don't do feelings. They just too low. And then I saw the arrogance of it. I saw how arrogant. It's like this white light that was right and piercing and controlling and like this dictator. It's like this, it's this watchdog,
Yeah.
And anytime anything moved like a feeling, it just was go, goes like, don't you even move? Don't you even like think about being part of my existence?
So what I hear is like one of your really like pieces is to recognize the presence of negative and judgmental thought. Yeah, to kind of recognize a state.
Precisely. Precisely. And actually for me was really begin to then I was like, oh my God, I need to undo my mental structure. I need to dislodge this fixed ideas, allowing them to dispel, basically. I really had to look at my whole thought system.
So how do you do that? How did you actually dislodge it?
Well, just by awareness. Just noticing that it's punitive, that it's unloving. I often hear these lines as like, who is the one who watches? And I
Sorry.
I know.
It's like one of my least favourite
Yeah, I know. Same here.
techniques.
Same here. It's like, who is the one watches?
I'm always like, do I have to actually think that through?
Yeah.
It's too much
and it's
work.
like, let me have a look at this watcher. This watcher wasn't a loving presence. What is he watching? Like this stupid thought that it was just bluntly going through my consciousness 24/7. What are they observing? What are they watching? And I realized that watcher was a moron.
A moron.
He was an absolute moron. I mean, that's the ego, actually. That is the ego. The unseen, it's hidden. It's so
Refined.
It's so clever. And as I
need to slow you down, honey. You're actually saying so many things in one go
my God,
that are really
I know.
good, So because don't just jump over that quickly. So what I hear you saying is that there is these judgments of feelings. Yeah, so if we're going to, just let's break this down a bit when you say, who is the one that's seeing? What I'm hearing you saying is that there is a very subtle shadow in there that is actually kind of judging the humanness and trying to get rid of it. Is that what you're
absolutely.
saying? Right.
Yeah, and that's more like in the upper. So looking at more like the region that's between my ears. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
you know.
right.
Eventually,
You're looking at the subtle structures of either spiritual belief systems or...
exactly.
But there's something, what I'm hearing you saying is that there's like a recognition of very, very subtle layers of judgment of feelings.
And not so subtle.
Yes, not so subtle.
Actually,
Right.
totally dismissive.
Yeah, let's expand upon that, because I mean I can feel the ones that I have in there is where, like and I have a lot of love and regard for Buddhism, but there is just this like little piece where the feeling realm is called the 3 poisons.
Oh my God. See, that's that part of the mind. That's this observer.
Yeah, and it's saying these are the things, these feelings are causing your suffering, and they are to be like...
Absolutely not true.
Yeah.
In my experience, absolutely not true. And that was that awakening. It's like, I need to go into this where when the feelings begin to finally join with me, they enlighten my mind. It was the feeling, it's the she that wakes the he up. We have this inner gift for each other. But it was the feeling that began to shine some light into this, so bright. It was so bright it actually needed to be numbed a bit from the brightness so it can recognize itself. There was so much light.
It's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. That is like that resonates so deeply to my experience, because to be with feelings we need to be in the murky darkness. If we do not turn that light down, we cannot meet them. Sorry, I interrupted you, but that just made me so excited.
I love your interruptions because you just pick up on, like, we're feeling each other's, like, we're both aware that, I come from different school, different approach, my different journey, and I think everyone has an individual journey,
100%,
There's like, what is it, 8 billion ways to God, basically, eh?
And the rest,
And there is no one that's better than the other. They're just your way, and you got to find it. So that was calming that sharp light. Go like, you know what? I'm actually not so interested in you right now. For me, more light is not necessarily better.
Yeah.
And when it dimmed, I could see more of the shadow.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the brightness I saw the shadow. It was in a dim. Suddenly it became visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. The subtle judgments, the subtle deflections.
Yeah. Of the movements of the feeling realm.
Yeah.
And so this attitude towards them is that these feelings are disrupting our awakened state or our happiness.
Yeah.
And we can't meet them because, like, in the brightness, we have all these labels of what we think they are, of how we shouldn't have them, of the state of being that we should be in, which is upright, clear, confident, calm, and kind of non-reactive.
And the projection. Because from that brightness, it suddenly projects out there, and it takes it away from here to outside.
Yeah, okay, so let's slow that down. Let's because how do you understand projection? Like, break it down.
Let's return to projection.
Yeah.
And let's go a little bit deeper into my own studying process. So I'm looking at the shame. I'm talking to shame. And, doing this first kind of initial like change of attitude towards it. Yeah. Then next step was like apologize to this feeling for denying it. I'm going like, what? Me? apologizing to this. That's when I saw that real arrogant part of the mind that was not aware of its punitive, rejecting attitude of brightness, spiritual light, and spiritual junk, real junk of ideas. Huh?
Yeah.
And then something quite amazing happened. I felt shame and I felt incredible. It's like I'm like, wow, how is this possible? I'm feeling shame and I'm actually feeling so beautiful. I feel so, like I never felt like that before. So suddenly I'm going like, aha, that wasn't a poison.
Yeah.
That was poisoned. I wasn't the poison. It was me killing it. And suddenly shame showed me what that really was. There was even like this moment when I said, shame, I've been calling you shame. Maybe you are not shame.
Oh, yes.
Maybe you are something else. What are you? And you know what? It's like, it's a shy thing. It's timid. And it didn't answer straight away. But it was like what I'm talking about. I'm talking few days, maybe 10 days. And that was when the shame one day, I went like, oh, what is this? How come this is feeling so beautiful?
So you're staying present with the feeling for 10 days? Just really deeply in your awareness?
I was doing it at that time with like, okay, I'll meet it in the morning. Just check in. I'll meet it, 5 times a day. I'll just go through this little process that was suggested, like, begin to heal it. Try these steps, as opposed to the ones I used before. So, yeah. And then it almost like it, when I was least expecting it, when I had no defense mechanism turned on, it showed me what it really was. It's like, hey, I'm not this, I'm this. And it was profound spiritual experience. Having shame feel like heaven. And I say, I think I've transformed this attitude of mind. And I actually, instead of painting this ugly picture over this feeling, the feeling showed me, it was like that story of a princess and a frog. I virtually kissed it, and in my case, it was like the princess showed up. I was so beautiful, my God. I was like, oh. It's truly like meeting the most pure feminine essence, just blessing me with its subtle, radiant light. That was just warm, nurturing, embracing, just loving. It was pure, loving light. And then, of course, me being a man, I'm going like, okay, I'm going to do next one and start with my anger. Hello, anger. And now I'm coming up with this whole new, newfound way to relate. Like you meet someone, I begin to fall in love with my feelings. And when I loved them long enough, most incredible thing happened. They begin to love me back. Suddenly there was this field under me, which I would have called subconscious at that time, became fully conscious.
Yeah.
But it was also extremely loving. So it was just like from the bottom up came this golden like lava field of embrace that was then birthing a new way of loving myself that was not an action, but just pure result of this alignment of that spirit or the mind that was no longer mind but turned into presence.
Yeah.
So thinking has shifted from thinking into presence. And that presence comes when the feelings are present. So I'm present for my feelings. I'm not pushing them. I'm not having an expectation from them. I'm just with them. Yeah. And then they are with me.
Yeah.
In a way they
That
can
they've
reveal
never-
themselves.
Their energy is allowed to unfold and move, and it's like a whole kind of, not even layer or fragment, but there's access to layers of experience that we've never had access to before. There's a fullness that begins to be available.
Yeah. So in that sense, I felt unified within myself, and my body began to reflect it. You know, like my vibration of my body elevated.
Yeah.
In this kind of like an electromagnetic field, you know,
Yeah.
like the thoughts are electric, feelings are magnetic, and they were birthing the heart, which was like a brand new heart. It had nothing to do with my ideas of what heart is.
Yeah.
It's like a brand new, like a birth, you know, I call it birth of Christ, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's so loving. It's so...
Beyond
it's
words.
beyond words.
And you know, this is 20 years later, so I find some kind of like a lingo that I can use to actually share it in a way that it actually tangibly makes sense without it being some kind of dogmatic or, you know, based on history or traditions.
Yeah.
Right, traditions. I'm
Or theory.
not big on traditions.
But I really love that, you know, mentioning of vibration, because there is something when we allow the feelings to move, when they have been purified of the mental realm and the way that we hold them back or make them become something, and they start to be able to move in an unencumbered way. And there is that electromagnetic field. There is this subtle vibration that is incredibly pleasant and energetic.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we are energetic beings and we are not humming. We're not vibrating. We're static and solid and separate and mental, and we're not in this unified field. And when you start to actually feel that well-being, and you know, from there too, you move from existence, or life can move through you. You know, there really is this sense of, you know, which we mentioned last time, there's something that you fall into that you begin to trust. That it has an intelligence beyond the mind, and it is showing, or if you follow it.
But that's what that part, when I was in the darkness still, that was what I call God. God help me now, show me.
Yeah.
But then that becomes your natural inheritance, like He's the same. You just vibrate smaller, but you still it is still child of God, like it is by, you know, this full alignment, like living in unity.
Yeah.
And then everything around me joins in, because it's natural. You want to join with that, because it oozes this inner alignment.
Yeah.
There's no conflict.
Yeah.
That's attractive. It attracts non-conflict.
Yeah.
If I have conflict, I attract conflict.
Yeah.
If I'm non-conflictual, I'm drawing to myself beings like you. Yeah, then we begin to unify. We begin to kind of align, and we're refining it, or we're aligning, and we're beautiful friends. But it's like a holy relationship because it's based on wholeness. I think that's where that word holy really comes from. It's from wholeness, that we are no longer separated from our feeling self.
Yeah.
We unite within ourselves, and then unity educates me.
Yeah.
I'm learning from that birth of the heart. I no longer need to read a book because the inner informs.
So let's just kind of go there for a moment, because this alignment really resonates for me. It's because, really interestingly, not only was I doing it in individual practice, I was doing a lot of relational practices. You know, I was doing relational meditation. So I don't like to use the word tantra because it's just... But we were just doing these practices, and sort of, if there was an arising of a feeling of, say, shame, or an arising of a feeling of I'm doing something I don't want to be doing, because we were moving so slowly, and we were moving slowly in order to track these experiences that become more visible in the relational field. Yeah. So like something would arise and I'd go, oh, there's shame. And then I go, oh, okay, there's shame. So I'm going to allow shame to be here, or I'm going to be with this vibration and sensation. And the weirdest thing would happen.
Right.
I would come into alignment with myself.
It's like music to my ears.
And bizarrely, you know, at that stage, I was teaching something that I developed, which was embodied intimacy, and they were just very slowed down practices. Just really, okay, I'm going to touch you very slowly here on the arm, and, you know, you could just track all of these ideas and all of these expectations encoded in the body. So, you know, it was just great to see how, if I feel this shame, and how normally I'm trying to jump over it, or I'm trying to pretend it's not there, or I'm blaming the other person for it, but just to slow down and go, oh, I'm actually going to not only welcome it, I'm going to be with it and follow it. It's like I suddenly came home to a whole missing realm of myself.
Yeah.
And there was an experience of alignment.
That's exactly.
And it was so profound, because it's like, oh, we've got this so wrong.
I know, it's like an upside down thinking, you know.
Upside down completely.
That's it, yeah.
Anyway, but that's just kind of a great physical demonstration. There's so many things that you say that are just so similar to my experiences, and so many similar words.
Well, I like how you're slowing it down, because and this is so inherent in the masculine, you know, like we just like, there's a natural fastness. We just actually, the mental energy is faster.
Yeah.
This electric, it's faster. The presence is faster than the feeling.
And, you know, I am so feeling that I used to have so much shame that I couldn't keep up with the fastness. You know, whereas now it's like, oh no, go back. You know, I want to feel every drop, because if I can't connect it with my body, I'm actually not understanding it.
Yes.
So when you're saying something, it's like, oh, no, I can't stay at that pace.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I love that you slow me down. Because I could just zoom through
and there's like
things.
so much there, you know. Okay, so we're kind of looking at these ways of, like, how do we meet feeling? Because I'm feeling into your map and I'm feeling into mine. So taking it back to, like, this attitude. So for me, I'm feeling a feeling. I recognize I don't like it. I recognize that somatically. You know, I think when I listen to you, you're recognizing states of mind.
Yes.
I recognize discomfort in my energetic and physical body. I recognize a tightening and a contraction that feels threatening.
Beautiful.
It feels like something is wrong. And for so long in my life, any feeling of wrongness mostly turned back on itself and blamed itself because I was broken. And our kind of reflection in the world is that if you're having states like this, there is something wrong with you. So mostly feelers kind of do have this like sense that this level of intensity must be my fault.
Right.
Yeah, so beautiful
God, I
to
hear
work.
that.
Oh my God, I work with these amazing people. They come in, they can feel so much feeling, and I just see capacity and, you know, incredible ability to feel the unconscious. And they are just so filled with shame and brokenness, you know.
God, I love hearing this.
Oh my God. And all I can feel is just this incredible love and what's the word? I feel like an awe to be in their presence.
That's exactly right. Like you get blessed by that.
That level of feeling body just fills me with awe.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
It really is a blessing.
It's like, I guess that really helps me come back to myself of like navigating or how to work with feelings, right? So the thing that really shifted for me of learning how to meet feelings was that I'd done about 20 years of meditation and psychotherapy, immersed. You know, I thought it was helping me make sense. I got to a point where I thought, no, it's not changing. This intensity, the core of it, actually not only is it not changing, I think it's actually getting worse.
Oh.
Like when something would happen that would go wrong, the states of intensity I think were increasing because some part of me was adding on top of it. What the fuck is wrong with me? I must be actually quite crazy. So it was the judgment was actually getting more intense in the presence of feelings. And so I was just assuming that I must be so broken because it's not changing. And the reason it wasn't changing is because I wasn't welcoming it. I've been judging it for 20 years, trying to get rid of it for 20 years. So, you know, to cut a very long story short, I actually found these practices that were really soothing. And I had one teacher that started to teach me how to navigate in the feeling realm.
What a blessing.
Oh my God, like insanely. And the big shift was, instead of placing attention on the feeling, which for a feeler is like putting petrol onto a fire, it just increased the intensity so I couldn't meet it in a relaxed and loving way. The story was glued onto it more than ever. You know, trauma, something wrong with it, something wrong with me, looking for the cause in this lifetime. So, you know, shifting the attention into the calm and learning how to rest so deeply, not in the kind of absolute or in a calm state. It was, you know, it was actually Tantra, feminine. It's like really learning to go down and open and like learn how to rest in the darkness. Befriend the darkness. And there was like no clarity. There was no story, no words, no looking for trauma, but what we were looking for was the movement of vibration that we didn't like. And in that level of expandedness It was expanded awareness, but it was so deep in the body that the whole body was humming.
Oh, God, I love this.
And so calm and so welcoming, and we were relaxing the field in order to welcome every single drop of rejected vibration. Can you believe that? Like I was just like, oh my God.
I can't even believe you're sharing this. I'm just sitting here in absolute awe of that experience, because you have this such an amazing capacity to ooze it into me. Like I've virtually traveled there with you, and I'm sure the listeners will also. This is how we transfer, and that was just, oh my God. There was almost a part of me that going like, wow, if you go any deeper, I don't know how to be present for it.
Well, maybe at this depth you can't. You know, there's something here. I think that's actually a really good point, because this level of depth, this level of non-doing is so, it's so new. It's so unfamiliar, and yet somehow we know it. It's like the fabric of our being. And to be in this depth of non-doing, to be in this depth of, you know, I hear you use the word creation. Like there's a letting go and a relaxation and a non-doing that is so nourishing, it's so murky, it's so like druggy even, like, do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's like it takes over.
Yeah.
I feel like my mind just cannot follow there, but something else takes over and simply takes me. And I learned that it's safe. And that it takes me deeper. It's like, I think with the mind we can go only as far. And then there's the great mother of everything that takes us to the places that are the birth of the new, which is really creation, like learning something we've never seen before.
Yeah, like we're so used to this kind of clarity and this light and this, like there's a stillness in that light that is very beautiful and has this level of bliss, but this is really different.
Yeah.
Like I love what you said, that like you have to learn to trust it.
Oh, yeah.
Because here you let go of like all your bearings. And I kind of hung out here for a really long time. And I think there's just so many layers of experience and, you know, new little like, oh yeah, like I'm holding here or... But one thing I learned down here was that like I was resting and I was in this new and I was befriending it, and like I had no idea where I was, and yet there was like this deep, like dark presence and an aliveness that was so magnetically down. And then I realized that, oh, I'm resting here, but some part of me isn't like taking it in. There was just this little clue I had from psychotherapy from Hakomi that was about like the nourishment barrier, or like learning to take in nourishment, how you have to bite-size it. And it just, some part of me went, oh, like I'm going to see if I can just take this in without disturbing the field, you know. And as I like stayed with my whole being relaxing and falling into the arms of existence. Like, and when I let that land, like in my heart or in my being, it was just like I started to like be able to take in this love that I'm learning to receive.
Oh my God. It's like what I call the daily bread. You know, the nourishment. I love how you use that word, nourishment. This is like sustenance of the deepest possible.
Yeah, like it's something my whole being, like it didn't know it, you know. Like there's a kind of, like there's like this remembering in a way, but it's like all that exhaustion, all that holding, all that doing, all that fear, all that like trying, that is so it's so cellularly tired, you know, to let that go, to let that be held, or to let that melt, and to rest into being. There's this nourishment that is like my soul is receiving. I don't know, I'm speechless. I can't quite capture it to convey it, but like I had to actually bite-size it, because if I took in too much, I'd pop out. You know, but if I just started to like let it seep into my being without me doing anything, then something started to grow. And when this started to happen, I could stay down here without, there was no effort.
Exactly.
None.
Yeah. And suddenly everything's given in a way that requires my non-cooperation.
Your non-cooperation.
It's like, hey God, can I help you with this creation bit? No, it's already done, honey. It's like, float with me and learn what the kingdom is, what the heaven really is. Like, it is downstairs, you know. For me, it's like, it's in this world everything's upside down, and this is all down so deep, and we call it hell because it's down that way, but it's actually not.
Yeah, we just have to learn to receive it, or to meet it at its. For me, it feels like it is actually so subtle down here, and we're not meeting it with the subtlety that it's yearning to be met at, which is this non-bright, non-specific, there's no complexity, there's no maps, there's like, it's kind of like having to like let go into something else that we're not controlling. And that is a little bit not scary, but it's like we don't know how to let go, and if we do, it feels like, am I allowed to let go like this? Or like it's so non-doing that it feels kind of lazy, or somehow that we're not allowed to rest that deep into non-doing.
It was so beautiful when you said that word darkness. I went like, that was like the finest music I ever heard. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, darkness that bursts, that receives. Oh God, I'm lost for words too. It's like
there is no clarity down here. Like that's the whole thing. There is no clarity. Yeah.
I think the first verse of Tao Te Ching sums it up. Like the Tao that can be told. It's not an eternal Tao, and so whatever can be named will kind of die in the perceptual realm of this momentary existence that appears as world. And just drops into this eternal now that's forever. Just to sound corny just for a moment.
Has it got a little Christian twinge to
The little twinge of annoyance right there.
I don't find it annoying. It's very kind of mystic.
Yeah.
You know, so please bring on your corny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for that. For being received there. Thank you so much for this gift.
Are you going to bring the corny little
Ending?
Yeah.
I think that was it. It's like we should just like let it go into the silence.
Into the silence.
Not even goodbye. It's like
there's one little piece that wants to be named from me. It's just totally tiny, but there's something when I rest in this level of like the sweet, warm, safe darkness. Like it's just so, like I can feel the tears even as I say it, you know. But everything that is still holding, like everything that is still like a vibration that is like still unmet or unintegrated, or you know, like everything can just be where it is. Like it can hold for like however long it still needs to hold in its fear or in its gripping or in its density, or I take my attention so far off it and I just rest into this, like learning to receive the nourishment of existence, and that everything can let go at its own pace. And there's something in that is so beyond like this way that we have to work on ourselves, you know. It's like you can be here just as you are. And I will rest into these, the arms of existence that like is so eternally patient and loving and receptive, and I just rest into that.
Yeah. That reminds me of that saying that rest in peace is for living, not the dead.
Resting in peace is for the living, not the dead. I think we have to leave it there because that just makes me want to cry with this.
Great journey, and it just feels like we're just warming